Professor Lakoff, Colorado is a state that does a very poor job funding programs for disabled children and adults. And there are people that are going to put something on we have a wait list that has 16,000 people on it. And there are people who want to put on the ballot through an initiative this year a proposal to raise the sales tax in order to fund programs for disabled children and adults. And the current working title is End the Wait List. And I wonder if you have any thoughts on that, on messaging for that program. Let me give you two others.
Let's take them one at a time. Okay? All right. Look, you have this impossible wait list. What it does is deny access to services that are needed. What do the services do? Basically, they allow disabled people to live reasonable lives and to hold down jobs. Basically, this is a program to allow, it's a right to work law for disabled people. It has to do with access to ordinary public facilities. It's an access bill. That's what it's about. And you want to say this has to do with providing liberty and the ability to support themselves to disabled people. You don't just call it End the Wait List. Because the wait list sounds like, well, you're going to get on there sooner or later. Right? That's not what this is about. The question is, why is it morally right? What is the moral issue? See, every budgetary bill is a moral statement. And what you want to say at each point is, what is the moral principle, and name it by the moral principle.
We're also going to have an initiative on the ballot this year to increase the severance tax. Severance tax is what oil and gas and coal companies pay to sell natural resources. And so we're going to increase the severance tax and use the money, if it passes, for college scholarships and for some environmental protection as well. Any ideas on that, ending or raising the severance tax?
Well, first of all, you don't call it the severance tax. First of all, nobody knows what severance means. It presumably means what you do. Severing is the oil from your ground, your oil from your land. But moreover, people have no idea. It sounds like they're raising your taxes. Right? Terrible name for a bill that does that. You might want to call it something, you might want to name it relative to certain moral issues. Namely, if this is a college scholarship opportunity bill, that's one of the that's looking at what the money would be used for. If it is a matter of oil companies paying fees, so it could be an oil depletion fee or something like that. But the point is, you can describe what it is and what it's for in such a way that people can understand what it's about when they hear it. You don't call it the severance tax. Who the hell knows what the severance tax is?
Privilege equalization. Let me just raise one last one. We have in Colorado something called the Tabor Amendment, and they did a pretty good job when they called it the Tabor Amendment because they branded it already as a Bill of Rights for taxpayers. But it's caused untold grief and sorrow in Colorado. And we're going to either this year or some year soon, hopefully this year, put something on the ballot to ameliorate the negative effects. So you're familiar with the Tabor problem.
The general idea, yeah. This has to do with understanding that taxes pay for protection and empowerment. Well, what are protection and empowerment about in terms of the most important things in our nation? They're about freedom. Freedom from harm, that's what protection is. Freedom to fulfill yourself in life, that's what empowerment is. So taxation is what you pay to live in a country that supports your freedom from harm and your freedom to fulfill yourself in life. They support your freedoms. And that's what Tabor does, is cut your freedoms. And what you want to do is talk about some way of increasing your freedom. The Liberty Bill. who's freedom. It's about the fact that if you heard the Bush second inaugural, he used the word freedom, liberty 49 times in 20 minutes. Half of them were normal uses that we all recognize. Half of them were purely conservative uses. And what I did was figure out exactly what conservatives and progressives mean by freedom differently. And they are wildly different. Right? It turns out that the conservatives use the words freedom and liberty much more. And the word liberty is almost always used by right-wing organizations. This guy's got to stop. We've got to take back liberty and freedom.